everyone, welcome to EvaChristensenArt.com. I'm joined today by Tilo Riggs and Clico. They're all tooling around here in the art room and are planning on making a guest appearance throughout this little video, I'm sure. I wanted to talk to you today about how do you start an oil painting. Excuse me. So the reason I think that this is kind of important to know is because this summer I transitioned from watercolor and acrylic over to oil painting. I bought all of my new oil paints and I was excited to get started, and then I just really hesitated on even beginning to start painting for about 2 months. The reason is oil painting seems so much harder than watercolor and acrylic. You're not using water as your solvent, you're using mediums or solvent itself, and it just really seemed not to be very beginner friendly. And not only that, although there are some resources on the internet, I just found that there wasn't a lot of consistent and straightforward information for how you would just go about to get started with your painting. So to give you a little bit of background, you can use just an inexpensive kind of canvas that you could find at any arts or crafts store. So the less expensive canvases, they measure about half an inch thick. The stretcher bars themselves are not as thick in width as a professional or artist grade canvas, but the surface is perfectly reasonable for painting on. Okay, goodbye. So for all of my oil paintings, anything other than practice really, I prefer to use a professional, or you may see it called a gallery level canvas. So you can tell that you're looking at one because the sides are about 1.5 inches thick. And on the back, the stretcher bars, they're made from a piece of wood that's thicker in width, and it's often a nicer piece of wood as well. I do find that the gesso used on these canvases is often more receptive to the paint than the gessoed surface of the inexpensive canvases, probably due to a difference in the gesso that's used to prime both. So the canvases come from an arts and crafts or an art store. They're pre-made, they're primed for you with gesso. That's that white surface that you see. Raw canvas, you can purchase it at an art store. You can usually buy it by the foot, and you can also buy the stretcher bars themselves, and they fit together at the joint there. So you could make this from scratch. If you buy your canvas pre-stretched at a store, they'll come in standard sizes. Most of those sizes are based on the golden ratio, so you'll see really common sizes like 16 by 20, 18 by 24, 24 by 36. Those are just really pleasing length to width ratios for paintings. So that's why you find those that you do in stores. If you want anything else, you can probably buy custom canvases. You could probably order those. But if that's what you're looking for, probably best to figure out how to put it together yourself, which you can definitely do by buying the raw materials. It just takes a bit of fiddling, and stretching this canvas and having it really nice and tight and having a nice surface like that also takes a bit of skill. So definitely not something to take for granted. Now, the problem with oil painting is that you can definitely go ahead and start painting on this, but that bright white surface is kind of glaringly bright, and it can kind of play with your perception of color when you start a painting. Same goes for acrylic. I just find it a lot easier to do an underpainting in acrylic because you just need some paints thinned with water. So for oil paint, there's a number of issues. The number one that I found, and that really caused me a lot of obsession was this idea that if you use graphite on the surface of your canvas, it's going to swim to the top and appear on the surface of your painting in who knows how many years. But the threat of this seemed real enough that I no longer wanted to use graphite to draw my underdrawing on my canvas, so I had to find a suitable alternative to that. And at the same time, I just really felt clueless as to how you could get a nice, even tone on the surface of your painting that would probably be a more neutral place to start. So if you start with a bright white canvas, it can have the effect of making the paint that you're laying down look either darker in color, or you might perceive it as a slightly different color than it is, and it can kind of play with you in a not so great way when you're starting your painting off. So that's why a lot of artists choose to do an underpainting, and it was just, how on earth do you do this underpainting that really caused me so much concern over, the course of a few weeks. What ended up happening was I just decided, well, I might as well get started on this and we'll see how it goes. So I kind of filmed what I was doing and what's been working, and maybe that will help some of you out. So here we go. So for this underpainting, I am starting out with some Burnt Umber Old Holland oil paint. Burnt Umber is a really nice neutral brown color. It's a warm color, and it's going to go well with the other colors in the palette for this painting that I'm planning. So the paint to start is pretty thick, and you need to make some oil painting medium in order to thin it out. So my medium consists of 1 part Galkyd to 1 part Gamsol. What this is the Galkyd is a resin, an alkyd resin. It has about the same consistency as oil medium, like a linseed oil that you might add to your oil paint to thin it out, but it actually quickens the drying time. And the Gamsol is a Gamblin made product. It's a solvent. If you were to just add solvent to the oil paint, then you would probably thin it too much and it would lose its structure. So this way you thin the paint, but it still has its structure and it's easier to handle. So I mix that with the paint that's on my palette, and I start with using a broad-sized brush. This is just a watercolor brush with man-made fibers, and I start brushing it across my canvas and keep picking up more medium and keep brushing it across the canvas. It doesn't really matter how even my brush strokes are right now. The oil paint isn't going to dry. It's not a race to the finish like it is with acrylic painting. So the point here is you just really want to fill in the white on the canvas until you have the whole canvas painted with the burnt umber. Okay, so this is the fun part, and this is why it doesn't really matter how good your brush strokes were when you were putting down the thinned oil paint. You're going to grab some paper towel or a rag that you don't care about, and you just start blending it and rubbing it into the surface of the painting. You do want to thin the paint, so you just want to apply an even pressure everywhere, and your goal is to get really an evenly toned canvas. Don't damage the surface of the canvas by pressing too hard, but you do want to kind of rub the paint in and take off any excess. And here's the finished toned canvas. Isn't that beautiful? So I know that demo probably seems really simple and straightforward, but I hope it's useful to anyone looking to start their first oil painting, kind of just get over the fear of getting started and get into it, or for anyone out there who's looking to see what other people are doing to get their canvases ready, maybe it'll be useful to you too. So I wanted to point out that once you've prepared the surface of your canvas, you'll have a really nice uniform canvas to paint on. This one here is done in burnt umber. It's a great color to use, really nice neutral brown. I've been painting a lot of cat paintings lately, and this is just great for that kind of natural animal fur color scheme. Another really good choice is to use a thinned out Payne's Gray. I find it makes a really nice neutral gray on the surface of the canvas. It's so pretty, and if that were to suit your palette, I think it'd be a really good choice as well. So once you have this done, another good step to take before you start your painting is to consider finishing off the size of your canvas before you even start the painting. This way you can blend your background or your painting right into the size of the canvas and not worry about it. I recommend using acrylic paint so that you don't waste good oil paint on the side of your canvas, and also because acrylic paint will dry really quickly and allow you to handle your canvas a lot faster. So I like to use Tri-Art Carbon Black to paint the sides of my canvas when I just want to use black. Otherwise I use a dark color that will blend well into the background of my oil painting. Another product that I really like is the Seural transfer paper. It's a non-graphite transfer paper. It looks and feels like parchment paper, and it has like an active white sort of surface that you put white side down onto your prepared canvas, and then you trace your drawing out on top of it, and it transfers over really nicely. If you use this, it's a non-greasy sort of transfer material. You don't need to worry about it magically swimming to the top of your oil painting and ruining your masterpiece in 50 to 100 years. So again, this is a really great product that I discovered in my quest to find a non-graphite underdrawing medium. I love it. You could also use white Prismacolor pencils. I do use those to fill in anywhere that I've missed when I transfer over with the Seural transfer paper. So I hope that this little tutorial has been helpful to at least one person out there. Good luck with your oil paintings, and happy painting!